Call Mario.
Alright, there we go. It should be getting ready to hit the YouTubes. I sounded old
The
just
YouTube.
then.
Oh yeah, did we decide on an order for topics? That's probably something we should have gone over.
Yeah, probably. But we're on air already, so...
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh well, let's do it in the order like it is in the description.
We're doing it live.
we're blagging things as always.
Say blagging?
Yes, that's a British term.
I've never heard of that term.
Played by the ear.
I will assimilate that lingo into my vocabulary.
Best I can tell, everything is now up and running.
Oh, good.
It starts dragging for me really bad whenever I have everything open, so I've closed out the windows and I'm just playing blind. You'll have to let me know if it's messing up. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. At least we can all see each other, and it's halfway working as intended. So. Thank you for sitting through the technical difficulties. That's kind of what screwed us last week, as we had problems getting stuff set up, and by the time we got it figured out, you're already about 40 minutes behind schedule, and it just wasn't working. So this is now our episode 2. Again, you got Mibu and Sicachi. You guys want to say hello real quick?
Hello, real quick.
Hey.
All right. Today we got a good show lined up, I think. In the description, you can see what it is. We're going to be talking about replayability, and that kind of ties into the topic we want to cover with respecting game and devs, respecting our time, and we're going to end it with franchises. So, Sicachi, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Okay. Well, the first thing that we're going to be talking about, of course, is replayability in video games. Just what makes a game replayable? What do you guys prefer, replayability to a game, or just sort of a linear story?
Personally, I think it's going to end up very much depending on the game. If it's
that's true.
If it's a heavy narrative focus, I'm not going to probably replay the same story over and over.
No, definitely not.
Mibu?
Definitely not. If it's very story based, it's a one-off. But then I'm hoping it is a long game, and the story is really worth it.
Now you see, you say that with a heavy story-based game, that you don't care as much for replayability. But there is actually a few different games where different choices you make highly affect the game. Not necessarily just the gameplay, but it makes the game itself replayable, such as if either of you have played the Mass Effect series.
Yes.
The different choices you make really change things, so going from the first game, you can make one choice that changes a lot of things in the third game. So that's something that I find really replayable, even though it's a very heavily story-based game.
Yeah, but it's like whether or not I have the Krogan at the end of the game is not going to make that big of a difference to me to go back and replay it. Although, admittedly, taking Mass Effect, that would possibly be one. The choices, they're very hard-hitting the first time. Like, with that, I think Mass Effect 1's out long enough that I don't have to worry about spoilers.
No.
I remember the first time sitting there, and they had the thing with the Krogan, and I can't remember who the other person was. I think it was actually Shepard. And you had the choice of, like, pretty much do you kill the Krogan or let him to go do his thing? I have never before in my life remember setting down a controller and just walking away because I'm like, oh my god, I don't know what the hell to do. Now, for me, the reason that choice had as much of an impact, I never played the first one, and the second one had come out. I was wanting to play the second one, but once I heard that your saves carry over, I'm like, wow, okay, I need to play the first one. And I just like you said, I mean, like decision for my first game was going to affect my second game. I was like, okay.
Wow. Mind
So
blown. No, but with Mass Effect, even though the different endings are very, very intriguing, to me, it's still not a game that I would consider replayable. No, not really.
Fair enough.
But I'm a person that who not really often does replay games, so tough
Yeah.
one for me.
Well,
Tough.
one type of game, the roguelike, that's a game where replayability, that's what it's all
That's
about.
key
It's
for most games.
mhm. It's a
Exactly.
short, punchy game that you have to replay to unlock different things. A
Mhm.
lot of the time, just to beat the game. Like FTL, for example, you're not gonna beat that your first try. It's not gonna happen.
No.
Um, I was gonna say though, something with roguelikes and that whole genre of games though, most of them aren't narrative heavy though.
That's
Like
true.
there's a lot of story in them.
Yes.
Yeah, there can be some story, but they're normally not narrative based. It's just kind of
I guess that would
playing
probably
it for the gameplay.
I guess that would probably be the easier thing. Not necessarily story heavy or story driven, but narrative heavy. Mass Effect, I'm kind of in Mibu's camp with this one. I wouldn't go back and replay it. I don't feel the choices vary the gameplay enough, especially from what I understand, by the time you get to the third Mass Effect, your choices didn't really make much of a difference anyways.
Well, whenever you get to the
Having not
very
played
end
Mass
of the
Effect
game.
3.
In Mass Effect 3, your choices do
Sorry,
make...
did you say you have not played
No,
Mass Effect 3?
I have not played Beyond 2.
Oh.
So I've not played 3 and I've not played Andromeda.
Mass Effect 3 is really good. The only thing people didn't like, from what I saw, was the ending.
The ending. Oh, yes.
Yep. Because the gameplay in it is a more refined version of the seconds. And, I mean, like I've said before, if you're not playing biotics, you're not playing the game right. I love being able to just lift people off the ground and throw them into the distance. The best thing.
Beautiful, isn't it?
But getting back to replayability, what I've learned just from looking up different aspects from things that I've seen, really what makes a game replayable is whenever the game restricts certain things from you. Whether that be from you don't have everything unlocked, so you have to replay the game, so you'll play it once, you might unlock something, so then you have to replay it again to be able to use what you've unlocked. And you also get that with alternate endings and alternate paths. So that's where what I was getting with Mass Effect, in that in the game you do have alternate endings, even though Mass Effect the end Mass Effect 3's ending not gonna change a whole lot. But with Mass Effect 2, you have the suicide mission. There's a lot of different ways that can go. People can die. You could save everyone. Everyone could die, and you included. And the game still ends. So there's all sorts of different endings, and then throughout the game with Mass Effect, in a way, you're doing alternate paths. What with who do you want to be humanity's counselor on the Citadel? That sort of thing. That's an alternate path. You have to make a choice. You restrict the content that would be if you chose the other one for the one that you choose.
I think I had it whenever you're in the middle of talking. I can't remember it now. I think probably like one of the best candidates for replayability and everything, if you want to go back and everything like you're talking about, they have to change quite a bit. A perfect example, if you want to go back to roots and everything, I think would be, in terms of changing the base game up enough, is the second world of the original Legend of Zelda game. And you could skip to it by naming your character Zelda and everything, but like pretty much once you beat the game, you can go back, and sure it's the same map, but all the dungeons are switched around, and the enemies are beefed up and everything. Like the gameplay has to change significantly, or the alternate endings have to be profound
or alternate
enough.
paths.
Paths, I don't think necessarily. equate as much. Like, you know, you can, as long as the choices, yeah, I guess that would be paths. So yeah, I'll give you that one. But the alternate endings have to be profound enough to make a difference. And I think the best example I can come up with for that one would be Chrono Trigger on the SNES.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys, either of you guys played that one?
I haven't.
Of course.
It's Sicachi. If you ever get a chance to, go download a ROM or find it on the Play Store. No, I don't think that one's on Steam. I know the Final Fantasy ones are on Steam, but it is by far one of the best.
Go find Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, go find Chrono Trigger. Play Chrono Trigger. 11 different 11 different endings for that game. That it's just.
That thing you just posted, it's on the news. They said somebody just put this on Facebook. First he saw it.
All right.
Bye.
What was that?
Sounds like Pyro's in trouble.
Wow.
No, my mom getting excited about something I showed her about the Hurricane Irma.
Oh, okay. I hope everyone is safe.
Yeah, hopefully everyone's safe. If you're watching in Florida, then congratulations, you're one of the few people with power. So, anyways, the different endings. There is literally a point in the game you can get an ending within the first 30 minutes of the game, a true actual ending to the game. Sure, you haven't experienced some 100 odd hours of gameplay, but
I did not know that. Wow.
But you can still end it, yeah.
yes.
I've heard about that. It's a little infamous.
But, and I mean, they have endings to where everything just goes to shit. You have endings to where everything lives happy ever after, and you have a bunch of those in between morally gray type endings and everything too.
Yeah,
So,
you get that with Undertale as well.
Undertale.
Yeah.
But with
Now,
Chrono Trigger, look, when did that game come out? We're talking about pioneers of gaming. That's 1980s, late 1980s, something like that. That is fantastic. Hang on, let me look this up.
Late 90s. 80s is a little soon. Because
90s?
yeah, Chrono Trigger was on the
Really?
SNES, so that was at least in the mid 90s.
Oh, mid 90s. March 11th, 1995.
The Zelda game, yeah, that was like 80s, something like that. But
Yeah.
Undertale, now that's one thing that, like, seriously, I would kind of get annoyed with. There's too much replayability almost, if that's such a thing, because you have different you have your three core endings, from my understanding. Your true pacifist, your
Genocide.
yeah, genocide. I was trying to think of the word they use, and then there's an in between one.
Yeah.
You have permutations of these endings based on who you kill, who you don't kill, and as far as your second ending, when you play the game a second time and a third time, you get different endings based on the order that you've done your previous endings.
Yeah.
Like like there's this one that if you do your pacifist run and then you do your genocide run, then you do your pacifist run, it changes your pacifist run ending because of having already done a genocide run. And
yeah. So yeah, lots of replayability.
and then
And
Undertale with their WD Gaster shit.
Yeah. Oh. What was I going to say?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But yeah, so that's a game that has a lot of replayability, and yet it's not really a roguelike. It's straight up an RPG.
I think the ultimately like the amount of replayability, no matter how much or how little you have, it ultimately comes down to, did I get enough enjoyment out of the money I spent on it?
Yeah.
An example I'll give right now, because I fell in love with this game, and I talked about it last time. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a $30 game. I would never replay that thing. Probably I've played it all the way through and beaten it. Have you beaten it yet, Mibu?
No, I've stopped after the first episode of streaming it. I'm going to stream the whole thing at some point, but too much going on. So please, no spoilers.
No, I'm not going to. I was just whether you could relate as much as me. The story is amazing. They do have achievements you can get as far as whenever you're going around collecting these little sounds like story tidbit stones. But there's nothing. I don't. As far as I know, there's no alternate endings to it. But would I want to replay it? Would I want to have experienced all these different endings or something like that? No. For a $30 game and the quality that it was, it felt amazing. But you got some of these open-ended games that, like if nowadays, if you were to like taking the classic Chrono Trigger nowadays, if you wanted me to pay $60 for that, it's fun. And definitely get. I think it's worth a playthrough and everything like that, even at that price. But the replayability, no. I mean, it's just after so much time, the permutations to get to all these different storylines and everything, it's too much. And then you got that with where they're trying to do it with some open world games, like the Skyrim. From what I understand, they touched a little bit on it with their main quest. It's like, and there's all these odd and end games like, oh, there's 5 different endings, but one of the endings you have to make sure you take a shit literally in this one toilet on the 6th act of the game, and it's like, by the time you're fishing for it, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You actually hit on a good topic. I was actually wanting to talk about Skyrim and how it really isn't replayable at all, because you just have your one playthrough. And you can do everything. You can be the head of the Thieves Guild. You can be the master wizard at the Mages College. You can be the leader of the Dark Brotherhood. You can do all of that in one playthrough. And you can do the story. No problem.
Exactly. That's one thing that I've experienced with Skyrim. It's like, some of you probably got the enhanced special edition for free because you have it on PC, whatever, the original one, or you forked out again on consoles, blah blah blah. And I tried to start a new character with the beautiful enhanced edition, which is for free anyways if you download all the mods, and looks probably better than the special edition. Never mind, I'm trailing off. So I tried, and no, I found myself going back to my old save game from the previous playthrough, and I thought, no, I can't do it. I invested too much time already. I know everything already inside out. Every character, every dialogue, and this, that, and the other. I'm like, no, I can't replay it again.
That's one thing.
It
Like
doesn't
I
work
think
for me.
that's one thing Skyrim, like Bethesda messed up with. I think Oblivion and Skyrim, if I remember correctly, because I remember back on Morrowind, you had so many levels, so therefore so many skill points, and no matter what, once you hit that point, so it was impossible to do a max build character and everything like that, or keep going on and everything.
Oh yeah.
And they limited when you with your faction choice, which they didn't let you do all the joining the guilds where you could work your way up to where, okay, I'm now running X guild or whatever. But you had your 3 factions. You could only pick one of those 3 factions, and you had different gameplay available to you based on those factions in Morrowind. But in Oblivion and in Skyrim, they're like, oh well, you can just do whatever you want throughout this whole thing. There isn't a need to go and get a separate save and start a separate story to experience the whole game.
Yeah. And then just another thing, that with alternate paths, how we just kind of equated it to the different choices you make in the game. Like how we said in Mass Effect 3, how it's like, oh, I want Johnson to be... Is it Johnson? Wanted one of the people to be the counselor for humans on the Citadel over the other. Whereas you also get that... you get alternate paths from the first Resident Evil game. Have either of you played it?
Which one was it?
Which one? Sorry?
The first one. They've done a few remakes of it.
I played on Resident Evil, the very first one, the director's cut on PlayStation.
Yep. So in the beginning of that game, you get to choose between, who is it? Is it Veronica and is it Chris that you choose between?
I don't remember getting
Chris
a choice.
Chris Craig, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, at the beginning of the game, you choose one of 2 characters to follow. And depending on that, you have an entirely different game. Of course, you still have the same gameplay. You have your gun, and you walk around and shoot zombies. But where you go in the mansion and like in what order you do things is dependent upon which character you choose. So in that, it can be replayable as in, well, I played as Veronica. I want to play as Chris now. So I'm going to go back and replay the game. What was that?
Sorry, if a game gives you two completely different experience from the start, yes, okay. That is something that I personally might consider worth replaying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be completely honest with you, and I don't know how you guys feel about that. Personally, I only replayed games when I was very, very, very young, and we're talking games like Monkey Island, the first two Monkey Island, the Indiana Jones. We're talking Sierra and LucasArts games, right? Point and click adventures. And by that time, I wasn't loaded with games. We had our games. Mum and Dad provided a game maybe once a month, or that were once every 3, 4, 5 months. Whatever apart from that, I had to either copy on 15 floppy disks from my friends, or actually go to the store and buy for myself with the limited money available. So games weren't so readily available as they are nowadays. There is an overflow of choice, and if I'm not enjoying the game, I'm not even bothered finishing it. I just move on to the next one. And then should I finish one game, believe me, I've got at least one other game already in the pipeline waiting for me to be played, so I don't even need to think about replaying another game.
Just to throw it out there real quick, I wish I could have this ready to show up, but it'd take too much to get it pulled up. And I would love to have our Steam database stuff.
No, don't.
Shows how many hours how many hours you've played of your Steam library versus how much it is worth on average.
Oh gosh.
And
no, please don't.
That'd be a very sad
statistic. Anyone that's a PC gamer, this is more prevalent on PC, but it's getting worse since digital distribution on consoles. Mm-hmm. But anyone that's a PC gamer, they have Steam, and anyone that has Steam has a library of games that they have bought on a sale or something and been like, this would be amazing. I want to play this thing. Right now, I know Mibu, me and you at least have that. Me and you found it right when it came out, and it's, oh my god, this looks amazingly fun. That Team League Racing.
Yes.
We both got that. Haven't played
0
it yet.
hours.
Yeah. There's a bunch of games that I bought because I couldn't decide between which one I wanted to buy, and I didn't know which way our community was going to go. I bought both Citadel and Dark and Light. Those are games that are, by very nature, just not non-ending. And same thing with 7 Days to Die. I bought that and everything, and we were starting to get into it and everything, but I've yet to play it. So I mean, there is a collection of just non-ending games.
As soon as you brought that subject up, my mind just automatically went to, hello darkness, my old friend. Just several games that I have not downloaded at all, even. And
yeah,
I mean, I have 200 something games in my library, and I've got a bunch of them installed. It's just I usually always go back to the same, because for me, I'm a big multiplayer gamer. I enjoy. It's weird. I'm a big multiplayer gamer, but I hate getting into random matchmaking stuff. I enjoy getting with a group of people and playing the game. I hate going into matchmaking with pre-mades or anything like that. And it just, like, I have to work with you? Really?
You see, but our Steam libraries, and that's trailing off a little bit, our Steam libraries, yours, you said something 200, mine is 363. In some cases, that is a small Steam library, and we are experiencing these problems already. I have games installed that I haven't played. 0 hours. Straight, no lies, 0 hours. God. But we're trailing off here, I feel. We're trailing off.
Yeah. Pyro, you touched on this a bit earlier, but about how much of a game that you actually get out. Such as whenever you said, we're talking about Undertale, you said, oh, there's too much replayability in it. I feel like I've gotten my worth of this game
Yeah,
just from how much you played through.
the way I didn't mean to actually lump Undertale in with that. The way I said it though afterwards, I've kind of thought about that. But yeah, Undertale, I think it's a $10 game. You can get it on sale for $5 if you wait for it. Even at $10 at full price, you get your worth out of it. Like I said, ultimately the thing you want to make sure of is, like I said, are you getting at least the value out of your game? If you're paying $60 for something like Undertale, you better have a lot of good replayability out of it. $10, one or two playthroughs is fine.
Yep.
If you gave me that game for $2, playing it for 30 minutes and never finishing the game would probably be worth it just because of the music.
Oh, the music is so good.
And a lot of that stuff, it kind of does go back to, and it goes into the next thing. Developers and the game's respect for us and our time. Mibu kind of brought up a good thing, we're talking about our Steam libraries, and we're talking about, as we've grown older, and everything like that, sure, as a hobby, gaming is, it doesn't matter to age, but it's all encompassing. But the general gamer is your late 20s to mid 30s age range right now. So,
yeah,
as far as, it's a very important thing. Like, developers, their respect for our time, and games for our respect for our time. Thoughts on that and everything? Since we just kind of left it, the replayability, is that a good thing or a bad thing when you're talking about as from this regards?
It's just a different route. Regarding replayability, it's a different route that developers might choose to go. I mean, any game, in theory, any game is replayable. It just needs to be either worth it just for the soul experience, or music, art style, feelings. It must be worth it, okay? But I don't know. Developers nowadays, you see developers that do not respect, in my opinion, the game community or the player community, who just push out a game. It might be finished, or they might class it as finished, but it's riddled with bugs. And we're not talking about early access or alpha, beta releases. We're talking finished. It's riddled with bugs, and they don't do anything about it. So these are games or developers that don't respect my money, my time.
Opening thoughts from you on this, Sicachi.
I mean, for me, it depends on the content that you have. If you want to make all of your content accessible right from the beginning, like with Skyrim, you're still going to have a good game. I mean, they're still trying to sell Skyrim to every console imaginable. And it's a good game. I mean, nobody's going to deny that there's a lot of fun to be had from it. But then you also have things like FTL and other roguelikes where they're all about replayability. And that's a pretty huge genre in the Steam library, at least. Not library, but Steam store. So it can be either good or bad. It just depends, so long as you do it in a way that's entertaining.
Now, I think talking about the subject of respect of the gamer, we'll just use that to sum it up as a whole. Mainly, like we're talking about replayability, game systems can be another aspect of this. When's the last time you guys, or okay, not last time, we'll say this, thoughts and opinions on save systems? Save anywhere versus checkpoint based, beginning of level based.
Well, it depends on how you want to convey your game. Like we were talking about the first Resident Evil, you had to get to a typewriter, and you had to make sure to have a roll of ink. So you only had a certain number of saves that you could do, and you'd only serve in certain places, and that really instilled a sense of dread, whereof, oh man, it's been a long time since I was able to save. I hope nothing bad happens, and I mean, it's all about bad things happening.
But in our modern game design though, like I said back then, there wasn't as many games. There was definitely more time. The generation has grown up. There's not as much time, and there's definitely more games. If I had to play, like, I will find myself, if it's frustrating to, if like I'm constantly in a game to where all my progress is dictated by, like in your example, an item that they gave me and everything. You know, there's only so much that I'll take. I'll go load up. I'm not Call of Duty, but you know, whatever FPS I'm actually playing that I can just go in and jump in and do a couple games of it and be done, and get my enjoyment out of it instead of replaying the same section 5 or 6 times because you know they made it too difficult to save my game, and not to mention the overall difficulty of a game, which is another part of that you can cover in this topic.
Yeah. So I mean,
save games. I like games where I can save when it's convenient. But that it's again I'm a very niche person. Some gamers, they have loads of time. They can do whatever they want. I'm a family person, and for me, life happens, and it happens on a regular basis. So if something happens, I need to stop, and I don't want to lose my progress. So please let me save whenever I want, whenever, however. I don't want to be limited by ink rolls or anything else. Please just let me save, please.
Yeah, and you'll see like a lot of the, like right now I think we're in the age of remakes, remasters, and reboots. The pirate 3 R's. You'll see they talked about Final Fantasy VII, the remake that's coming out for PS4 on that. They ditched the checkpoint-based save system for a save anywhere system. Much of the other games have gone to the save anywhere system, and I think the appreciation for that is different depending on, like, you know, Mibu, you kind of brought up, you know, your family situation. I myself and Mibu have kids. Sicachi, you're still playing the bachelor life. So I mean, it's definitely something. You say that right now.
Yeah, right as we're changing topics, we're in the.
Well, no, like in the middle of me doing, I can't type, and yeah. Just to let you guys know what happened there, Sicachi's reminding me, like, hey, change the on-screen topic. I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm in the middle of my thought, so I'm trying to do both at the same time. It don't work.
He was gone.
So I mean, like, but like Sicachi, you're living the bachelor life to where, you know, you having the time to be able to, if you wanted, have a game that is, whether you want to call it artificial or not, tougher because of that element, that ain't gonna bother you. But for me, it's like, you know, I'll put up with it on for so long. And Mibu, I mean, your kids are older than what mine are, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Sometimes that may impact you, sometimes it may not. You know, like for me, like right now, even at this moment, my mom's watching our kids because my wife's gone at work. If one of them gotten severely sick and everything, I'm sorry, I would drop this podcast right now and go run off to find out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's definitely one of those things, you just don't have as many interruptions.
Yeah. So, what it sounds like from you guys, it sounds like I'm pretty well the minority here of, I don't mind whenever a game is limiting your saves or limiting how you can save, so long as they're doing it for a reason, not just, why not? We're lazy. Let's just put saves here, here, and here, whatever. I mean, if you're doing if you're doing it intentional, like they do in Resident Evil games, at least the first 4, from what I understand. Did they do that in 7? I don't remember.
Was it even 7? Yeah, you need to go to a typewriter as well, even though it's limited, the ink rolls. Okay.
Yeah. So they're definitely doing it for a reason. They're trying to make you feel more invested in the character, they're trying to make you scared with that mechanic. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely understand where you guys are coming from with we have busy lives. We have to kind of switch to a more casual system of save whenever. so that way you can do what you need to do instead of, well, I don't want to lose my progress, so I'm just going to leave the game on and
Standby.
just walk away.
I remember being little and having moments like that. There's what was it? Final Fantasy. Who have either you two played Final Fantasy VI?
Can't they have?
God, Sicachi, you're young.
It's not really that.
It's
the fact
got nothing
that
to do with
I'm
age.
not a huge fan of Final Fantasy.
Oh, really?
It's got nothing to do with age. Final Fantasy
Never got
VII was the
invested
first
in it.
one I played, and then 8, then 9, then
Wait, what was your first Mibu?
7.
Oh my God.
And then 8,
You're getting-
9, 10,
okay.
and then I went back. Then I went back to replay the old ones, the original ones. So I played them all.
Okay.
Trust me.
Final Fantasy VI is by far, in my opinion, the best as far as overall systems and story. But, well, that's another topic. In Final Fantasy VI, they had this scene. It's this part of the game. It's a tower. Zozo's tower. Towers. I can't remember what it was called, but it's this thing. You have to go through 100 levels without a save.
Wow.
There's not a shop. There's nothing in between. Once you start it, you go into this with the party you want and the items you want to have, and you have to get to the top. And it's either party death screen or beating the tower is the only way out.
Yeah. Do or die.
Yes.
Hmm.
And there was one time I remember I was sitting there trying to play this level, and I'm like, I gotta stop. I can't remember what the reason was. Probably because I got called away to do something, little grade school kid. So I paused it and left the system on, and I didn't come back to it till the following day. Because I got to it was level, I think, 62 at this time. Like, I'm over halfway done. I need to finish this.
Yeah.
There
I feel
are
ya.
any specific games that stick out in my mind that I did do that with, but I certainly did do that in the past.
Yeah.
Not only once.
And Sicachi, you kind of touched on this. If it's a thematic choice, I probably wouldn't have a problem with it. I keep coming back to this game. Hellblade. We talked about last episode with the deletion of your save file.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's like pretty much.
I mean, they did it for a reason.
I don't want to go into it too much because Mibu hasn't finished the fucking game yet.
Do you want me to unplug my earphones?
Yes, unplug your earphones if you don't.
No,
want to
we
hear
want
this.
you to finish it right now. Get to work.
Just wave.
So no, anyways, this game, it's turned out that it does not truly delete your game saves.
No.
It was. He's still listening to me.
Of course I have, and I knew it. I brought that up,
No, like they come, like the developers actually have gone so far as to sit there and say, no, it was something they put on there for thematic reasons to just instill that fear into you. But because of that same reason, it was definitely like, and it was only a one-play game. I was willing to risk that because, oh my god, the effect it did have on me. Whenever everyone was it was like the first time, whenever the first Blair Witch movie came out. If you got to see that opening weekend when everyone's like, oh my god, this shit's real. Oh my god, you had a completely different experience versus the people that waited by the third and fourth week whenever the actors were doing their movies, their talk show rounds and everything.
Yeah, definitely.
So I mean, definitely, if a game has a thematic reason to do it, I can understand it. But I think like the horror genre can only get away with it so much.
I mean, there is games, again, very narrative, story-driven, where it only saves after a certain chapter happened, some pillar milestone happened, whatever. So in these cases, I can understand that as well. From a writer's point of view, you don't want someone mid-chapter or mid-scene almost, if we're drawing a movie or TV comparison. You don't want someone to drop out mid-scene, save, and a couple of days later come back almost having forgotten, oh shit, what happened? So
Break the pacing.
from a writer's perspective, I can relate to that technique or that system as well, but doesn't always work. Not for everyone.
Yeah, used to get that more back in the day whenever it was you have your home screen. Here's a good example. Mega Man, the original Mega Man games. You have your main screen, and then where you choose which level to do. And then once you beat the level, you get a code. So that way, it's its own sort of save. So in the middle of that mission, in the middle of that mission, you have no save. They weren't really doing it for a reason. It's just because that's how technology was at the time. You couldn't really save.
Yeah, you didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
It was Mega Man 3 that they just completely dropped the ball. I don't know why all the other ones were simple. Mega Man 3 was this, I think, 8x8 grid that you had to fill out icons. You missed one icon in that. If the game loaded, it's nowhere near what you're resembling your game.
Password dots, man.
Wow.
Password dots.
But final thoughts? Anything on this one? Because our next topic it's going to be a completely different set of gears, I think.
Well, as for developers respecting our time, just one thing that I wanted to put out there: MMOs, grinding, please no. That's not respecting our time.
Why didn't we remember to cover that one? That's a big. They're like, is there ever a
that is a big
excuse,
one?
Is there ever a good excuse for grinding?
7 Days to Die. You grind up your skills just by like breaking rocks and stuff like that. So you are grinding, but then you're using the materials you get from that grinding to actually like build a house.
And you do gain skills whilst you're grinding. You're mining.
So you're grinding.
You gain mining skill. You're shooting. You gain shooting skill, and so on and so on. Yeah.
So it's not just grinding for grinding's sake. It's more than just the leveling up.
I was gonna say, like, drawing kind of a thing. Like, I'd say, can we agree? Bad grinding is especially like your JRPGs. To beat the next boss, you have to grind so many things with your characters. Can we agree that that's a bad grinding?
Like that's with the first Destiny. Well, I have to make sure that I have to be this level, so that way I can be competitive.
All right. So my question is then, on that 7 Days to Die, do you have to do that grinding to be competitive?
No.
No,
I mean, you can get better things by grinding, but anyone can find a sniper rifle like I did and shoot someone else.
Damn, I want that sniper rifle. But yeah, you don't have to do that grinding. You don't have to, but you will want to, because you want to build a safe base. So automatically, just to gain the materials to build your base, you will do that grinding. I don't even consider it grinding.
If
the just need the source materials in order to fulfill your recipes, in order to for whatever you want to craft, you need to go out there and quotation marks grind.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good reason for it. Whereas if you have an MMO, well, all the time as it is, bring me 10 copper ore, and then you have to grind.
That is a side quest. So for fulfilling that side quest, you gain some extra XP and maybe a couple of items.
That's a different topic. That's fetch quests.
Usually, you go somewhere. What I consider grinding is you go somewhere, an area where enemies respawn fairly in a reasonable fashion, and they drop a decent amount of XP, and you just are there for hours and hours and hours, slashing and healing yourself, and slashing and healing yourself, and slashing and healing yourself, and slashing and healing yourself. You see where I'm going with that? Well, so that is a real bad grind.
I'm gonna say, do we need to actually define grinding better then? Grinding, as we started, it took as anything you have to do repetitive to progress. whether that's the story, your character, whatever.
Yeah.
But the more we were talking about, the more I was thinking about this in my head. Is it really grinding if you're enjoying the content? Because usually that's what I whenever you hear someone just in conversation say grind, it's something repetitive and boring. But if you're enjoying the content that as part of that grind, is it really considered a grind at that point?
I wouldn't consider it grinding. Like going back to 7 Days to Die, I would not consider it grinding because, again, I'm trying to
just
build
something that
something. Therefore, I need to fetch the materials. Simple
Yeah.
as.
It's gameplay at that point.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you could, like, if you want to really technically dub everything down, like take a narrative heavy story where you got cutscenes explaining the story, and then you got a good big bang finishing end and everything. Every time between those cutscenes is grind.
Sure.
If you want to boil it down to base elements,
you could make an argument for that.
but
But
I can't believe we missed grinding. That was kind of a big one. I'm glad we.
Well, I
got
certainly
real
don't
quick.
miss grinding. I'll tell you that.
Right. So, moving on. Hush you. Moving on. Mibu, you want to go ahead and get a start on the next one?
Nope,
Yeah.
no silence. Oh.
When both of you said, I had a complete different topic in my head, but when both of you said replayability and respecting the player's time, I immediately thought, and I can't even remember what game I had in my head at that point in time, because we're talking like 3-4 weeks ago, but something triggered in my head franchises, gaming franchises. And I think this topic goes very well hand in hand with developers respecting our time. So there are good, very, very good gaming franchises that majority of gamers love, and there are those franchises that everyone used to love and they have completely gone down the drain and really messed it up. So just curious, what are your top gaming, or no, let's start the other way. What are your worst gaming franchises these days?
I will start this one. I could start this one out on either side of that spectrum. I'm so glad. No. And shout out to Corin on this one. Corin Hedges from Obtenebration Network Community Discord. Half-Life. I think it is both the greatest and the worst gaming franchise. In that, the first one was revolutionary, showing that you could tell a story and completely keep the player in control. You don't have to drop to cutscenes. You can actually keep everything in-game, in-engine, with the player still maintaining control, and they can experience it from the point of view of that character. Especially for FPSs at the time, it was a feat of storytelling and revolutionary for them. And Half-Life 2, when they did that, again, just revolutionized how they did storytelling, how they did gameplay, the stuff that, and engines and graphics. Like, it was a huge feat. And all the Half-Life 2 episode 1, episode 2, the original one, you had the opposing forces and Blue Shift. Everything they've done has been so revolutionary in terms of whatever they chose to focus on for these games. That's what made the franchise great, and I would love to see a reboot of it. On the flip side of that, though, I hope to God we never see a Half-Life 3, and I don't think we ever will. Because the bar...
I hope not.
The bar is
carry on.
The bar is so unconceivably high that no matter what, it will only disappoint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it
is hard to be innovative these days. It's hard to put something out, a whole game that keeps every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, keeps the player's mind going bang. It'll only disappoint, like you're saying. It will only disappoint.
Yeah. I mean, we've also heard with recent events that Half-Life 3 isn't something that's going to happen, or at least we can make a pretty good assumption with the writers and whatnot on there. not working at Valve anymore.
Yeah, the writers are leaving. The closest thing we have is a ex-lead writer. And this is why I shouted out to Corin on this. There was some misconceived excitement because a writer who had left Valve had a draft of a story for Half-Life 2 Episode 3, and that brushed across the internet for a while, like, oh my god, Half-Life 3 confirmed, they are working on it, they got this. I'm like, well, first, that's Episode 3 of Half-Life 2, and it's from a guy that no longer works there.
Exactly. So people are actually getting their hopes up.
Well, either way, at least, we can be sure that Valve cannot count 3.
What about you, Sicachi?
Only when it comes to money, probably.
The only series that really comes to mind right off the bat, before Sonic Mania, Sonic was run into the ground and was bad. I mean, you have your original 3 Sonic games, and they're great. They're Sonic. It is Sonic the Hedgehog. Everyone loves them. And then you start getting to where there's 3D graphics, and they're like, oh man, we have to step our game up. We have to do 3D. And it didn't translate well. It was bad. I mean, you can make an argument and say that, Sonic adventure games, they were, acceptable. They're alright. I liked them for what they were. But Sega team, Sonic team, Sega, they weren't doing a good job. They just ran it in the ground. But we can say very happily that they have brought it back with Sonic Mania. It is a Sonic game. Sonic is Sonic again.
I was going to say, Sonic Mania, was that done by the same team, or was that licensed out?
I don't know a whole lot about it. If I remember correctly, I think it was actually... No, that was just the art. The person who did the opening cutscene did Sonic art, and they hired him to do the animation.
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Sonic Mania, but I've certainly heard everyone going, oh my heart, so much nostalgia going on, and this is how I remember it, yes, this, then the other. So I'm not sure. A lot of it is, from what I hear, kept to the originals. Either way, if it's the original team or license out.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I'll do a quick search.
Sonic Mania is, it's a good thing, a good example of finally getting a franchise that it's been through.
It's been through
a good handful of reboots and attempts at redefining itself, and nothing has worked. I mean, it's like when everyone all the time is like, how hard is it to put a little blue ball going really fast through tubes and tunnels? That's all you got to do to make a good Sonic game, almost, and no one was doing it.
Okay, from what I found, it's actually an Australian programmer and a Sonic series fan game community.
Wow.
So yeah, the people that like Sonic
made Sonic.
Yeah.
Make Sonic great again.
Make Sonic great again.
It's very similar. Like there is this Mario Maker, I think.
I wish I could play a Mario Maker. I don't own a Wii. I don't own a Switch.
A lot of people do actually really praise the fans making these levels.
Yeah, so, they get really creative with it.
From gamers for gamers.
But like usual, Nintendo's dropped the ball on that one, though.
Nintendo always drops the ball. Well,
there's this one guy. He intentionally made troll levels. And he was always getting a lot of attention for it. Mostly good, mind you. Mostly good. Nintendo started deleting his levels and banning him because they're quote unquote not in the spirit of the game. It's like, who are you to say what the spirit of the game is, Nintendo? You made it, but your community is going to define it.
Wow.
Yep.
What about you, Mibu? What's your worst?
Well, you touched it slightly, JRPGs earlier. So one that is probably a little bit less known, Dragon Quest. Have you ever heard of Dragon Quest?
How's that a little less known? That's like that's the granddaddy of them all.
You see, I talk to a lot of people that don't know Dragon Quest.
No, I played Dragon Quest games.
Okay, real quick. How can you like?
So-
Okay, how can you play? Do you like them?
I don't
do
play them
love 'em.
anymore. It was whenever I was.
I used to love Dragon Quest, and I've got on my phone or on my tablet. I have more recent Dragon Quests as well. So yes, I do enjoy them because they're very much classic Final Fantasy style. Why do you ask?
No, I was trying to ask Sicachi actually because he was talking about how he doesn't enjoy
Oh, okay.
Final Fantasy, but I was like, if you tell me you like Dragon Quest over Final Fantasy, I will drop you from this call.
No, it's more of that. I got it when I was a kid, and when you're a kid, you'll play whatever. I mean, I'm sure if I picked up a Final Fantasy game, I'd say, "Oh yeah, this is fine." But I'm not a huge JRPG fan. Save Fire Emblem, but that's more turn-based strategy.
But anyways, continue, Mibu.
But the two last Dragon Quest titles, they are more what is it called? Dynasty Warrior style.
Oh,
Why are you doing this to a Dragon Quest title? Do you guys know Dynasty Warrior?
Yeah,
I bet you do. Yeah.
it's pretty much the glorified hack and slashes.
That's what it is. Hack and slash.
Actually, it's the 3D evolution of beat 'em ups, like the side-scrolling
Yes.
2D beat 'em ups. It's the 3D
Yes,
evolution.
you get 100 minions running towards you, and you just smash them in the face.
yeah. Press X, press Y. Repeat.
Exactly. And this has happened to Dragon Quest. Why? Please, why? Tell me. Anyone. It's not Dragon Quest.
I was gonna say-
It has the characters in. Okay, fair enough. But it's not a Dragon Quest game anymore.
And that's something you get a lot of times with these franchises, especially when like we touched on it a little with Sonic. Whenever a franchise is languishing, or the demographic for the original base genre is no longer there, a lot of times they'll try to capitalize on the popularity of the franchise and do it in a different genre.
Yeah.
And
The
really
quest for more money.
thinking about it, the only game that I could see that's done it in recent history is the Mario games. It's been a platformer, it's been a racer, it's been a sports game, it's been an RPG, it's been I'm sure I'm missing one here. Help me out, guys.
Been tennis.
Sports.
Yes, sports. Mario is
Oh,
Mario.
a board game.
Nintendo. Yes, Nintendo has just taken the character Mario and put it in different types of games because everyone loved Mario. If Sega would have done that with Sonic before they ruined Sonic, I bet it would have taken off just as the same.
Sonic did good as a pinball game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how often do you play a pinball game?
Not very often.
Nope.
There you go.
But yeah, like the open world genre gets a lot of stuff to where they'll switch to try to make it an open world game. Survival kind of fits in that, and I had another one for this and I lost it. The aforementioned hack and slash. Usually, if the characters fit in and everything, they'll try to pigeonhole that into that. If the original genre is failing, I do see a lot of those most of the time.
Yeah. So, what are some games that you would actually like to see either rebooted, revised, or just a new game of it? Breathe some new life into it just with a new game.
So two things I can think of straight from the bat, and one is confirmed, one is coming. Well, is already out for consoles, but is coming to PC. The new Final Fantasy. The recent Final Fantasies, oh my god, they ruined the franchise for me. For the simple fact that they were just linear. You couldn't run around anymore. You couldn't just go explore cave A, B, C, D, and then Q.
But Mibu, 4 guys, 1 car.
That sounds like the start of a bad internet video.
Road trip. Okay?
No,
Just
it's
class it as a road
it's about
trip.
the end of a mediocre game. But
Road trip, right? Fair enough. But apparently, and I didn't want to look too much into it because I want to experience everything for myself. But apparently, Final Fantasy 15 has again open world exploring, completely free, and you can do whatever you want. So that is one I'm looking forward to, and this one is confirmed. And another franchise that I really want to be revived again, and I'm probably the only person on this freaking planet, Command and Conquer, the old strategy series.
No.
Please, Command and Conquer. Not in a way that you only have like a limit of 200 units. No, I want the original Command and Conquer back, where you can just sit somewhere, farm, mine, and get prepared, and then just run the freaking enemy over.
I hope that
That'd
game
be-
just stays in whatever hole it crawled and died into.
No, I totally or maybe get StarCraft back, which I think is happening.
What do you
rumors.
mean? StarCraft 2.
Yeah,
It's
StarCraft.
it's still around, and they just, I mean, the Protoss expansion just got released, last year?
Yeah, but
So-
I want up to date graphics, please.
Have you played StarCraft 2?
Of course I have.
No, the problem I'd have with the Westwoods, and I haven't played anything beyond, I think, Red Alert 2. So, from what I understand, that was the epitome of the Command and Conquer games. My problem, at the time, you had Red Alert and Westwood style RTSs, and then you had the Blizzard style RTSs. I could not for the life of me, going from Blizzard to Command and Conquer. If I built 2 barracks, I would expect that I could train from both those barracks. But you can only pick a primary, and it built from that one. So maintaining 2
That's
bases.
annoying.
Yeah, maintaining 2 bases and included extra about, on average, 2 to 6 clicks, depending on where you're needing your units to come out of. And when you're talking about, actions per second and everything, as far as your efficiency playing these games, I'm by no means was a competitive RTS player, but, definitely I'm always about, how can I do this most efficiently and quickest to give me that leg up on the guy that's, sitting there leaning all back, But that was annoying to me. I should be able to just go to that barracks, click it, and start loading it up with, unloading units out of it. But no, I had to go click it, change it to my primary, which for whatever reason beyond me took a couple of seconds to actually switch over, and then click off of it so I could go to my build menu and start building the units out of it. And then, oh shit, I need units back over here, so I had to go through that process again. Like I said, as soon as you're doing your forward bases, it just became pointless.
Yeah, that sounds pretty annoying.
So yeah,
It does sound annoying, but it's still a game.
Command and Conquer needs to stay in a dirt nap.
Aww. Let's
What
agree
if they
to
Sonic Mania
say
it?
that you're wrong.
That's
You're
the thing.
wrong.
Even the fans of the original game, I mean, it's still shit mechanics. Right now, whenever you start talking about reviving old series, the one thing that came to mind for me, because I've never really gotten to completely experience them, and surprisingly, it's a JRPG series, the Suikoden games. You guys played them?
No.
I don't think I've heard of them.
Okay, a little bit of background first. Suikoden, the first one is the one I had the most experience with. I had the first and second one on the original PlayStation, but never, like I said, never really got to play them. The concept, pretty much, the first game's storyline was you play a character. It's one of those classic storylines where, the world's going into you're part of a kingdom that's going to war with another kingdom, and you start kind of becoming the protagonist hero of it and everything. But the scope of the game is what's different than most JRPGs, in that you have your basic party building, but you actually start building up an army. You start building.
Oh, that's cool.
You actually start building your bases. Your core cast of characters on the first game alone is, I think, 100 actual dialogued filled up background NPCs is about 100.
That's really cool.
Wow.
That reminds me of Fire Emblem.
And then you have also nameless characters and everything. And the storyline, it's a awesome storyline playing through. I have only ever gotten to play about half of it.
Jeez.
And it's all those games I always want to go back to and everything, but digging out my old PlayStation's always been a eh. But you have your basic party fights where you have like, you know, your group standing over here versus monsters over here kind of thing. You have duels that's actually one-on-one, or sometimes two. I think the most they do is 2-on-2, but it's typically a one-on-one endeavor where it's a heavy narrated duel that happens, very cinematic and everything for the age. And then you have full-on army, like where it's like you're almost playing RTS. You have your characters commanding little platoons, battalions, or units, whatever, and strategically moving them, which those can also get broken down into your party fights and everything. So it's a bunch that can be, like, whenever you're doing these big, epic army battles in the game, it's amazing just how you can actually, in one battle, you'll have all of these going on. And then you still have your RPG elements of dialogue interactions, the big plot twists and all that kind of stuff, on par with early Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest games. And Suikoden 2 just pretty much, they went all Spinal Tap and just dialed everything to 11 of it. And
You're gonna have to send me a tweet telling me the game, because I can't quite understand how I would search for it. I mean, you don't have to right now, but send me a tweet after we get done.
Well,
because it really sounds interesting.
Well, Mibu was getting ready to talk some, so I'm going to pull this up for you.
Am I ready to talk?
Yeah, you're going to talk.
I was going to say a game that I really want.
Oh, Sicachi's going to talk.
We haven't heard what Sicachi wants to.
I thought he went before me. He was talking about Sonic Mania.
No, I'm saying that one's already done.
Oh, okay, my bad.
They did it.
Okay,
they revised it.
Sicachi, what would you like to see rebooted?
I want Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Ooh.
If done right.
I mean, I don't want the MMO, of course. Get that out of here. Leave.
Oh.
The first, the
BioWare version.
Yes. BioWare did an excellent job, and the story was good. The gameplay is a little dated. It's something that you don't see really nowadays, but it's all right. But there's just so much stuff to do. It's an interest. I mean, they put it in the Star Wars universe several thousand years before any of the movies, and it's just good. You hear a lot of people online, actually, that are saying we need Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 3 instead.
There was 2 of them, right?
Yes.
There was 2 of them.
There's 2 of them, and there's obviously the MMO, which we won't talk of.
Yeah, I haven't really gone into the story of the MMO or messed with the MMO at all, because it's not Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It's an MMO.
BioWare, I mean, what studio would actually tackle that, though? I mean, BioWare, I don't see them ever revisiting it in the near future, because they're working on a bunch of other stuff right now, aren't they?
I mean, I'm sure you could get a team working on it, because, like I said, it's pretty simple gameplay. It's just story, which may actually happen because Star Wars Universe or LucasArts is owned by Disney, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nowadays, yes.
So that wouldn't surprise me, because Disney likes making money.
Is LucasArts also owned by Disney? I thought it was just Lucasfilm.
Oh, it might just be Lucasfilm. I don't know. If it's LucasArts as well, then get on it, Disney. Get on
it. So, I mean, Disney has the money to at least do something with it.
They have the money, and they like making money. That's what you need. Money, and the want to make more. Because there's a large audience. I mean, those games didn't flop or anything. They did well.
Nope. And to this day, people are still playing both Knights of the Old Republic. There is such a huge community. I've actually recently tried to reinstall, was it number 1 or number 2? I can't remember. But I couldn't get it to run on my nowadays machine. So I dug through forums, and everyone knows of patches, and it's receiving the same kind of love than Skyrim does. Yeah?
Yeah.
There's people around making mods, enhanced graphics, this, that, and the other. And I got it to run after like 15 minutes of work, and it looked fantastic with those enhanced graphics that the gamers, the fan base have created. So even if a Knights of the Old Republic 3 comes out written by gamers, I'm up for it.
Oh man, that'd be so awesome.
I'm up
Like I
for it.
said, Sonic Mania it.
Exactly. So we have a few
Get
examples
some
already.
fans. Get some fans that are computer savvy and hire them.
Yes.
That's all you
Unity,
need to do.
please. Unity or whatever. It's easy to do, apparently. Don't ask me. Don't ask me for advice. No.
All right, but that's about all we got. We went a little bit over than what we initially planned, but I don't think it's too bad, and for nothing. Thank you for sitting through this one, watching. Sorry for issues last week that we didn't have our planned second episode. We are supposed to be bi-weekly, and we ended up just keeping with the schedule for obligation's sake. As far as, that's why we didn't. Not last week. The 2 weeks ago is when we should have had one. So Thank you for sitting through. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe all of us we got the Obtenebration Twitch, we got the Obtenebration YouTube, depending on where you're watching this from. Please follow, subscribe. I'm Pyro. I got you'll see all of our channel information you'll see in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, and you should see it on Twitch after this broadcast is over. Mibu, anything from you closing?
No, thank you so much for stopping by and just shouting out Lady Luene, who is sitting on YouTube. She says she loves Knights of the Old Republic, so I'll bet we're on the same page that she would love to see that revived as well. Not sure how she thinks about the MMO, but never mind. Yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, and make sure to like, subscribe, share, and not only us, the Obten channels as well.
Yes.
So, thank you, Sicachi.
All I really have to say is, I have to ask, do we have any questions? Because I know that at the beginning of the stream we said that we were going to take questions at the end.
Nothing.
I've refreshed it. No, I've refreshed it just a minute ago, and there's nothing.
Nothing? Okay.
Sorry.
So
then all I really have to say is thank you for stopping by.
And the last bit of tidbit, I've been telling Mibu, me and Mibu have been working on something. We have started for the Obtenebration Network community. This is more directed at the actual community members. We have started taking Game subscriptions to help the community expand. Our first goal being we want to actually pick out a game and do a game server. One thing we are going to do, we have a small giveaway that we'll do once we hit 10 subs. Doesn't matter what tier, and it'll be an open community giveaway at that time, but that's what we're going to do at a giveaway. If you aren't watching this, or I'm sorry, actually I'll phrase like, if you're watching this, thank you. Be sure to DM me that you've seen this, and that's where you got the information. I do have a special thing for everyone that's actually seeing it through that channel. So if you haven't seen it through here, you won't see it announced everywhere else. So be sure you send me a DM on that if you heard about it through here. Special thing for you guys, and DM me on our Discord. So,
and if you're not watching this, what are you doing with your life?
Right.
I mean, honestly.
Exactly. But if you're watching this and you send Pyro a DM on Discord, make sure that you include Mibu is awesome. Otherwise, that special thing will not count towards you.
And good thing Mibu's on.
He lied.
Copious amounts of something right now because he's crazy. So, thanks for sitting through watching our shenanigans, and we'll see you back in 2 weeks. As always, join us on Discord. Come join our community. We'd love to have you. Whether you're a content creator, whether you're just a gamer that enjoys interacting with those kind of communities, we'd love to have you. So, other than that, have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.